Welcome to another episode of Smash Writing. I am your host, Paul. This is the other host, Justin.
Falling away from camera. I'm out of this. I see your list. I don't want to be involved with you.
The good news is with Justin, what he doesn't know is the camera actually covers the entire wall.
I can't escape!
You cannot
escape. It's already
actually,
bad enough that I'm too close to you to begin with.
It comes all the way like to here. So, today we are talking about our list of our top 10 films of the 90s.
Our action movies of the 90s.
Genre, yeah.
Good lord. Boo-ba-doo-ba-doo. We're continuing on with the action, focusing the highlight on the 90s. This might be the last great era.
And
having looked ahead to the 80s, this might be the last challenging list.
We were talking about this off camera as like me putting the list together. I thought it would be a lot easier, but the 90s were stacked.
Yeah. With
action films.
We'll get into it more. The 80s, like the 80s have some hitters, but outside of that hitters, man, it ain't that fucking deep.
So, who wants to go first?
No. You can go first.
Okay. Starting with my number 10, I am going to go with Another 48 Hours, which stars Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte.
I'm so glad you said that because I could not remember this movie.
I think in early Eddie Murphy, he was like a really good actor of comedy and action. We know he tried to keep that going in the 2000s, but it just didn't really work. But
his buddy cop comedies were the best.
Yeah. Another series that could have been easily on our list was the Beverly Hill Cop.
I think that was more 80s.
Well, the sequels were in the 90s.
Yeah.
Just like this one is. The first film was in the 80s, but Another 48 Hours, it had that, of course, like I said, a buddy cop action. Eddie Murphy, no doubt, carried the action because Nick Nolte wasn't going to be a fighter. He threw some punches, but nothing great. The plot, was a basic plot for a buddy cop. You ain't going to get too crazy with it. But Eddie Murphy carrying it, doing a little bit of action and a little bit of humor, and when you get the right blend, it always makes a good action film.
Oh, we're going to talk a lot about chemistry because so many of these movies have got perfect chemistry.
And that is the thing, too, the chemistry with Murphy and Nolte. Now, I don't know if there was any type of bad blood or they just worked together well, but at least on film, they worked together well and they had good chemistry going back and forth. And that's why this is honestly my number 10 of the decade that was stacked.
My number 10 is The Fifth Element. This movie's bonkers. It's weird, and I love every moment of it. This is one of the first movies I watched with Mia Jovovich, and I love her.
Did Paul Anderson direct that?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, because she was nude in it.
No, she's nude in all of her movies.
all that her husband directs.
Is it?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's more, but I got to actually...
But most of her nude scenes are with her husband directing.
But, well, I mean, that would make sense. But anyway, that's not just the reason why you watch The Fifth Element. You watch it because the opera singer is amazing. Chris Tucker is so goddamn hilarious.
That film had the right blend.
You had Bruce Willis leading, with Gary Oldman being the villain, and they never meet in this movie.
Really?
They never cross paths in this movie. The closest they get is, I think, Oldman's getting on the elevator, and Willis and everyone is getting off the elevator.
No shit.
They never cross paths, and you never realize it, and it still works perfectly. The scene where the one group of aliens are holding hostages, and they're like, they never do anything without their leader, and you see Willis go in and shoot the leader in the head. Yeah, I want more of these movies. It's fantastic. It's number 10.
No, I'm serious. As I said, the 90s were so stacked that...
But I was saying the opera singer, though. That opera singer was amazing.
Chris Tucker.
And Chris Tucker being the diva.
That sounds about right.
It's wonderful. The hair alone.
Yeah. My number 9 is Con Air, starring Nicolas Cage.
It's so hard to pass on anything with Nicolas Cage. I don't have a Nicolas Cage movie on this list, and it feels wrong.
And it's kind of weird because I have 2 back-to-back. Did not even think about what I just did.
Yeah.
I did not think about that, and I'll get to that in a minute. But
Nicolas Cage owned the 90s.
He did. But Con Air, there was something
Put the
about
money back in the box.
yeah, the bunny, and his mission was to give his daughter that bunny.
Get on his family, give the daughter the money.
Yeah.
John Malkovich being the villain, like the main the main criminal.
It just had like a good touch to it. Like he played that I'm a badass character, good intentions, but soft spoken.
Yeah.
Like you just felt like you didn't want to cross paths from it. And the reason why he was in jail was I'm trying to remember.
He was defending his wife and he went too hard and
yeah, because he was a Marine or he was something like that.
He was viewed as like a weapon of destruction and was judged on it.
And because of that, he
was a good man who shouldn't have been there.
And he was almost at the end of his sentence, right? He was
he was going home. He was just taking the plane to go home.
He was the only one that was actually on that plane that was basically, because they brought that up. Like, the trick was, you said John there, he found out that technically he was a free man.
Yeah.
He was just on the way home. So he still had to walk that line, and it was a feel-good story with an action film, and as I said, Nicolas Cage crushed it in his role. There wasn't comedy in that film. Like, there was some dry sense of humor jokes, but it really wasn't like overboard, and it didn't need to because the story was obviously a much more
watch things explode.
Yeah. But that is my number 9, Con Air.
My number 9 is another Bruce Willis movie.
Wow, you did it back to back
too.
Did you know you were doing that, or
I realized it when I did it, but I just like, oh well.
Crazy how the board makes a difference.
What do you expect from me here? It's Die Hard with a Vengeance. Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson have great, once again, chemistry together.
Samuel L. Jackson can do great chemistry with anybody.
Yeah,
like
he just bounces back off of everybody.
He's a great actor.
I love the idea of the Jeremy Irons character running him around the city so he can get the biggest threat far away from him and keep him preoccupied, while at the same time getting vengeance for what he did. Yeah, it's just perfect Die Hard with a Vengeance. Die Hard sequel. It was a great bounce back from Die Hard 2, which was a fine movie, but it was just Die Hard on an airport kind of deal.
Right.
It just felt new while still in the same vein being a Die Hard movie.
Probably, I gotta probably say this was probably the last good Die Hard film.
Absolutely not.
Which one do you...
Live Free or Die Hard.
Was that with Justin Long?
Yes.
Okay. That might be it for that.
Die Hard 5 was bad, but Die Hard 4 was way better than people give credit for.
Was it on any of your other lists?
No, because the 2000s were just too stacked.
Okay. My number 8 is once again starring Nicolas Cage and John Travolta in Face Off.
This is bonkers too.
This film was off the wall.
This is a joke I heard. I think it's from the Honest Trailer people who were like, watch as Nicolas Cage pretends to be John Travolta, and John Travolta realizes how much more fun he can have.
it was trippy because when they swap faces to go to. I actually forget who was the bad guy.
Castor Troy, Nicolas Cage.
Which was Nicolas. Okay, because it gets you so entwined with the whole face-off and the characters basically flip-flop that you almost actually lose track of who you're actually rooting for until...
Oh, it's always Travolta. Travolta, I don't think ever played a bad guy. I mean, he might have once or twice.
I know he's a bad guy in The Punisher.
Oh, yeah, he was the bad guy in The Punisher. Scratch all that. I forgot about The Punisher.
Probably the best, most underrated Marvel film of all time.
That's not true.
I said, well, underrated.
Yeah.
Underrated, because people don't give it credit. But, I don't know, those two going back and forth, and, the weird science behind of removing one's face and putting it on another, even though it's like, well, wait a minute, the bone structure, the height.
You can't think about this movie. Don't think about it.
You can't.
Or you have one scene where they're flying off the boat and it's clearly 2 stuntmen.
But nevertheless, it was enough to keep my attention.
It's dumb fun. It's a dumb fun action movie.
I don't think this movie was really going to take itself way serious.
Yeah, it knew what it was. It didn't try to take itself seriously.
And honestly,
Travolta had Cage had those 2 golden guns, and it's like, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, but that's my number 8, Face Off. Unprofessional.
I'm proud of priming it. Number 8. Mortal Kombat! Yes. The song alone puts this movie in the top 10 of all goddamn time. the techno beat going.
I'm just staying silent because this is on my list too.
Just play the song. I mean, that's all you got to do.
Yeah.
But, they took a game where the whole point is just kill your opponent. And they did a pretty good job bringing it to live action. It's not the best. It could be better, but it's...
I think for the foundation...
I think it's still a really great movie.
Because didn't
really
the Mario Brothers come out before this?
Yeah, I'm pretty...
And that was a complete disaster.
Dumpster fire.
So for Mortal Kombat to learn and say, no, this is how... Yeah, is it the greatest one? No. But they laid the foundation. So
it was a really great movie, really solid. And I liked the fight scenes in it. They really focused heavily and tried to get a lot of fighting into it. There could have been little things they could have done better, but it's still a great movie. Still fun to watch. Still watch it today.
My number 7.
This is why you should just go away.
If anybody watches the TikTok videos, YouTube, like whatever, I'm a Star Wars fan.
Yeah, but there's no excuse for this.
And this is the first Star Wars film. Of course, I'm talking about the 1999 hit film, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
When you slap Star Wars on something, it will be a hit.
Financially, amongst the fans, that's all debatable. The one thing that I do...
Well, I think Star Wars fits... Oh, go ahead and tell them which one you're talking about.
The one thing that I...
Well, you didn't say what it is.
No, I did.
You
I said Star Wars The Phantom Menace Episode 1.
I didn't hear you. I think it's a weird generational thing with Star Wars. Like, if you grew up in the 70s and 80s, you're going to remember the original the hardest.
Yeah.
Our generation seems to really like this one, and then in like 20 years, you're going to hear a lot of great things about the new trilogy.
The generation, our generation that watched the prequel series, they mostly, they hated, most of the thing they only hate was the CGI. And though that is true, their fight scenes were very well choreographed.
I will say that I'm one of the very few exceptions. I think all these movies are flaming bags of garbage.
And that's why he's one of the few. But the hand-to-hand, the lightsaber duels, the behind the scenes, when you watch the behind the scenes, you appreciate it more because you're like...
Just don't go into the dialogue.
Yeah,
pod racing. I hope you like pod racing.
That was fun, but in it for the more of the hand-to-hand lightsaber duels. It was very impressive because this is going for the Star Wars fans. At this point you only had the 70s and 80s like this. So now they speed up things, and it wasn't like that was the video. Yeah, of course they use sticks.
Yeah.
But that was all their maneuvering.
Their biggest sin is introducing a villain that looks like Darth Maul with a double lightsaber. It's real badass for the trailer. And kill him. Just get rid of him. I know you brought him back in the cartoon and everything, but...
Yeah, in canon he's still dead.
In this movie, though, going out of it, and in the future ones, he's dead. You killed the main guy people came in to see.
Yeah, Darth Maul was probably... And now, like I said, they did bring him back because they're like, well, he survived being cut in half. It's like, damn, these motherfuckers don't die.
The hatred kept him alive.
Yeah.
Which is also the most badass thing they could have done in the movies.
But at the same time, yeah, Darth Maul, he was not going to be a Sith master. He was going to be basically what they call a Sith assassin, where his main goal is just to be number one.
It was a loophole because they wrote themselves into a corner when they wrote Siths only have one.
Yeah.
So then they're like, well, wait a minute.
Like he's not going to be
two now.
He's not going to be a master, so he's not an apprentice. He's an assassin, Sith assassin. But nevertheless, he was trained to do what a Sith does. But yeah, Ray Park as Darth Maul, he took a character that nobody knew and made it a fan favorite. He is, like, among Star Wars fans, I know Darth Maul is ranked high up there with the strongest Sith and fan favorites. I mean, honestly, I'm putting him right behind Darth Vader as my favorite evil characters. He was a badass. And yeah, it did suck that...
God, I never want to do that list with you.
Yeah, the way that he died, honestly, was the cheapest way. Like, he just destroyed one Jedi, and his little mistake, Obi-Wan, I know they storied that with Darth Vader, but nevertheless, my number 7.
My number 7 is a weird one. Because you look at
Uniquely
everything on my
weird.
list, and it stands out. It's it's Small
Weird.
Soldiers. It's a real good palate cleanser. Going like a more kids action movie kind of deal. I always remember this movie. But I love the idea of like you had these toy soldiers that were based off this cartoon, and they were at war with the Gorgonites, the other fleet of action figures. And when they become alive, they're still at war with one another because that's the show. These characters fight each other, and I love the idea that carried over to the action figures.
And think about like the 90s with toys. Like you didn't have like a film quite like this. You had
like when toys came to life, it was like Puppet Master or Chucky, and
or then you flipped over to like Toy Story where it's so lighthearted.
Yeah.
But this was like right in the middle.
Like these toys are gonna still try to fuck you up, but it's more of a child. And you had the young Kristen Dunst in this movie.
Oh yeah,
I
forgot she was in that. It's crazy when you look back at some of these films. Like, oh my God, I can't believe I watched them. My number 6, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I'm a rare outcast in this fan base too.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked. I feel like you would like this.
No. Even as a kid, I hated those fucking rubber costumes. I hate those rubber costumes.
What made the film more impressive was the people in those rubber costumes were able to still fight.
Yeah, oh yeah, give them credit. Like they still made it work. Those are nightmare fuel. Like, God damn.
The appreciation for Casey Jones. They brought a lot for the first film of this series, and 1 and 2 I like more than 3. But
well, I like the fact that we still made the same mistake that we did back then with the new sequels. Like the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie got a whole bunch of complaints for being too violent for kids, so they toned it down into, and they didn't let them touch their weapons. And then we made the same mistake all over again with remakes.
Like they have weapons for a reason, so get over it.
They're ninjas.
And not to mention,
turtles.
if you're letting your kids see somebody get punched.
No, you can't say that. I punch you now.
But if you're allowing your kid to see that, what's a little stabbing going to do?
Yeah, it's fine. We're curbing the numbers.
But
curb the population a little bit more.
I don't know. I did appreciate what they were doing for the film. The Raphael obviously became my favorite character of the Turtles because of this film. I watched these films before I watched the TV shows or anything. I appreciated that. But you got to give it up for what they were able to do in those rubber suits. And I mean, I know the budget was small, so they didn't want to get awesome suits, but nevertheless, they made it.
I'll say the Shredder looked amazing.
Oh yeah,
Shredder looked great.
Shredder was very comic book, cartoon accurate. Great job with doing a lot of good things. Rubber suits were, but they had got what they had to deal with.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, I appreciate the action in it, so that's my number 6.
My number 6. This is where Paulie's going to be arguing with me, but fuck you, Paul. GoldenEye.
6 and 5.
GoldenEye is the best James Bond movie of all time. I will fight you to the death. Actually fight you to death this time.
Skyfall.
Not actually kid around.
Skyfall.
No.
Have you watched it?
Yes. Mostly, I went between the points where I wasn't sleeping.
Go on.
Everyone was so great. Sean Bean was amazing with I love the 006 concept that they had going on here. Like, he thought he'd gotten him killed, and turns out he's the villain all along. They did it better here than they ever did. You heard me right. I said it. They did it best here with Sean Bean. Yeah, Famke Janssen. I don't know how to say her name. She played. I got it written down and I still can't pronounce his name. Famke.
Because you're horrible writing.
Something. Well, even if I showed you her name, you're still not. But I love the Pierce Brosnan's great. He looks the best. You heard me. I said it. Him in the tuxedo is amazing. I like
Coming in fall this year, we're ranking the top 10 James Bond.
No, we are definitely not. I'm not watching old James Bond. How do you pronounce her name?
Oh, her, Famke Janssen?
Famke Janssen?
Yeah.
over here mocking me. I'm like, I know I have this written down right. I loved it though. You had the Rod that's burning the hole through the bottom of the train in the minute so they can get out. Alan Cummings jumping up like, I'm the winner, and he's just the best. And it's I got her name down here. I know I do. I don't.
I know I do. I swear
I don't.
I know I do.
Did I not write her name
yet,
down? I wrote down everyone else's name except for the Bond girl.
Bond Girls is like more famous than Bonds. Like,
Yeah.
Or at least tied. You can't have a Bond film without having a true Bond girl like lined up to go side by side with them. And that run, you know.
I did write her name down. I just didn't write who she was. God damn it, my notes suck. Isabella Scorp. Pico. These names and these
My
movies.
God!
That's Natalia.
Okay, go. Just go. Do not call another person out by name.
I'm doing it anyway.
Oh, Jesus.
Robbie Coltrane. I got it! I got the name!
Yeah! Screw you! We know how to pronounce names.
We are professionals.
God.
That's
help us.
Valentine. I loved it. That little meet between him and Bond, it was really short meet in Moscow, and I love it every time I watch it. With him yelling at Bond, he's like, my knee hurts every day, twice as much in the winter. Do you know how long Russian winters last?
All year.
You had the tanks chase scene through the city, which was great. I loved it. Anytime you get a tank scene, you got a tank chase through the town. How are you like beating that in any movie? And then you get the video game tie-in, and the video game is the best first-person shooter of all time.
I'm not a gamer. That's all your department. But
You have no soul. Why do you think GoldenEye is not the best?
Because I watched the other films.
Despite the fact I can't pronounce anyone's names from this movie.
My number 5. Before he was smacking Chris Rock, he was punching.
That's a stupid joke. You should feel bad for yourself. Just move on in shame. For that.
Actually, I can use that joke back to back too. All right. Of course, I am talking about my number 5 is Independence Day. Will Smith in the mid-90s.
Mid to late 90s.
Mid to late 90s, kind of like burst on the scene as both an action star and a comedian. You know, he pretty much, it's like when Eddie Murphy kind of transitioned to comedy, Will Smith, you know, being athletic, you know, being funny, kind of took that place. Independence Day made Will Smith a much, much bigger star. Before that, he was just, you know, being funny on TV. Well, Fresh Prince kind of blew him up too, but this put him on the mainstream. You had this, you know, a good president's speech. You had a
Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah. Once again, you know, you talk about chemistry. Jeff had great chemistry with Will Smith. Their characters went side by side, even though they weren't really on screen together.
No, they didn't really
till
come
the
together
very
till the
end. But when they were on the scene together, their chemistry just flowed right through there, and it made it funny.
Will had to pick up when Jeff wasn't on screen, and Will did a great job.
Yeah. You know, with Will being young, the action was there. Most of this was really, you know, shooting and flying. Obviously, you're versing these gigantic monster aliens. A lot of it was going to be in a jet. But it worked. It was a big thing. It got us all motivated, and of course came out on Independence Day, so it made it even a bigger hit.
The sequel was amazing. No, I've never watched it.
I did a blog on that, and no. Jeff carried the film as best as he could, but it wasn't the same.
Yeah.
But Independence Day, I think everybody appreciates this film. Probably not you, but
I like Independence Day.
was this going to make your list too, and just?
No, it's just because of everything else. Like.
All right, well, that's my number 5, Independence Day. Here we go.
This is partially here to say, fuck you again to Paul. Fuck you, Paul. Batman Mask of the Phantasms. Great movie. One of the best animated movies of all time, in my opinion. It is wonderful from top to bottom. You have the Phantasm, who's a mirror to Batman. She went through the same thing that Batman went through, except instead of being like trying to do it by the book like Batman does and take them to jail. Phantasm just kills them, and it's a great dynamic Batman has to work with here. Is he's dealing with themselves. It's them in another world, and if they made one other choice or one other decision, they are Phantasm. Not to mention, you're carrying on, you're bringing the whole cast, the crew, the animation style from Batman animated series. It makes for one of the best Batman movies of all time.
We did an episode called Live Action.
Yeah, and you had me doing that stupid 1966 one.
That was live action!
All of the Zack Snyder bullshit.
Live
I
action.
can't have Mask of the Phantasm.
If I said Batman, we said live action.
Can't have a good time.
Alright, we're going with my number 4. Before he was smacking Chris Rock.
Yeah, redo the double stupid joke.
Before he was smacking Chris Rock, he was smacking aliens. And this time, this actually came out...
This time he's with Tommy Lee Jones, and he's trying to be in a suit.
Yeah. Once again, good chemistry with those. Tommy Lee Jones was a hell of an actor. That stiff, no nonsense.
This is the chemistry.
I'm talking about Men in Black.
This is the chemistry I wish Tommy Lee had with Jim Carrey.
Well, they totally dislike each other.
Well, they didn't. He didn't like Jim. Jim loved Tommy.
But Men in Black. Once again, it was another action alien film that Will Smith was in. But now it was something different because now the government knows they're here, but they're all in cahoots and
everything is status quo.
Yeah,
live here, keep it quiet.
Until Vincent Honorado, Vincent D. Honorado or something.
Oh, for God's sakes!
Yeah, get that name for me because we suck at names. But
we truly do here. We do not. At least I took notes, Paul.
I still in your notes didn't have you were pronouncing the names.
I wrote her name. I just can't pronounce it.
He played the main villain that was coming back to kind of...
Josh Brolin?
No. Do Men in Black.
I did. I'm on there. I was just hoping I didn't have to go all the way to IMDb. Keep going.
But the alien, he takes over a man who is Vince. I love him. He's a great actor from playing Kingpin in Daredevil to being
Vincent D. on for you.
Just call him Vince.
Vincent D.
Vincent D. From his time on Law and Order: Criminal Intent. Great actor. Appreciate the talent. He was the villain, the big bad bug that was coming to take over Earth and everything else like that. And it's up to Tommy.
Where do you keep your dad?
Exactly. They're once again the chemistry.
He had some great lines.
He did.
The bug had some great lines.
He did. Of course, Will Smith in the gun scene, like this little itty bitty gun. And
the cricket.
The cricket. Meanwhile, it destroys things. And then even Tommy Lee Jones getting eaten by the bug just to get something out of the bug.
He wanted his gun back.
Yeah. It had
Never
great...
pressed the little red button.
Yeah.
Push the little red button.
How Tommy was when he's in the car, just having fun with it. Meanwhile, Will's like freaking out.
He's got Elvis going on.
Yeah, great time. This movie seemed like everybody had a great time with making, and it was a great film to watch. And it's my number 4.
My number 4 is Escape from L.A. I'm in a weird position with this movie. I watched this before New York. They're almost the same exact movie. But this one was almost like a comedy version, a parody version of New York. And it's still a great ride. Still a great time. Snake Plissken is the greatest action movie name, maybe of all time. Like right behind Shep Chelios. But they call me Snake.
My God.
I love the end of this movie, where he just like shuts down the world. He tricks everyone into thinking that the recorder he gives is the right doomsday one to shut down the enemies, but it's actually just a tape recorder, and he shuts down the planet's electricity, and that's the most badass thing in an action movie. He's like, oh, screw you all. The Snake Plissken's just amazing. Kurt Russell is fantastic. John Carpenter is a probably the best director of all time. And this movie's wonderful. I want another one. Bring me some more Snake Plissken, please.
Didn't it come out like in the early 90s?
I think it was mid-90s.
I'm just going to run by my number 3 because Justin covered it. His number 8, of course, I'm talking about the 1995 hit Mortal Kombat. Great movie. The fight scenes were good. No CGI needed.
No CGI needed. I'm pretty sure there was CGI.
Some, I mean, for like Sub-Zero, but the fights were,
Yeah.
actually fighting of, not half of it being CGI. They did a lot of things great. They said we talked about the Mario Brothers. So this was a good kind of like rebound that video game movies, film adaptations of video games can be a good movie if they do it right. Of course, now we have like Sonic and all that. But nevertheless, Mortal Kombat, it's one of my most favorite action films.
You say that like we didn't have Silent Hill.
Well, the first, yeah, but then the second one just... Video game sequels are hard, but my number 3 was, of course, Mortal Kombat. So let's jump into your number 3, which I completely blanked on this.
You can't believe you blinked on this.
And I love this.
The internet will have your face.
I blinked at it as in the 90s because, like, you watch it... I watch it often or not.
Yeah.
And, go ahead.
Well, actually, I haven't watched it in a while. That's The Crow. It's, one of the best revenge stories of all time.
Mm-hmm.
With him coming back from beyond with these powers to avenge what had happened to him and his girlfriend the year prior. You Devil's Night still, you had some really twisted enemies in this movie. Real effed up situation. It's dark, it's gritty. It's a world that's not pleasant, and there's a bit of kindness in this movie that's just right. That fits the tone for a better tomorrow by the end of it.
And the sad thing that came out of this movie was the Brandon Lee situation.
Yeah.
Getting robbed of probably a future...
Man, can you imagine the sequels that we could have gotten with Brandon?
Yeah, I know. Just any film that Brandon was going to be following his father's footsteps and being a good action star. Was this his debut film?
Yeah, I believe so.
Wow, one and done. That sucks. But we got robbed of a great talent, I think.
I could be wrong on that, though. Don't quote me.
Yeah, it's hard, but yeah, Brandon Lee was definitely taken way too in an accident that honestly changed how people record movies too. So
you would think, but we're still having deaths on scenes, so
yeah, definitely involving
guns. We haven't actually changed. It's just
say some things were put in place. But I appreciate The Crow too. I enjoy this and I watch it,
I will say I'm part of the remake crowd. We need the remake. I don't want to see this character just end here.
And with so many remakes, it's hard to say, sometimes they go overboard, but sometimes it's needed.
This is a great cause. This is probably one of, ranking, we just put all the comic book movies in a blender and, rank them. The Crow would definitely rank high.
That could be an idea for future episodes. Go with my number 2. Was he in number 2 as well, Arnold Schwarzenegger? In Predator 2?
No. You're on your 2.
I know. I said, but was he...
Yeah, but he wasn't in that.
Okay. Terminator 2. Not too many films come out 8-10 years after the first film and be better than the first film. This movie was. It's an iconic film. Terminator 2, Judgment Day. Even to this day, sometimes it's even hard to watch because it's jumping from streaming to streaming because everybody wants it.
It was a good little twist on the narrative because you're taking Arnold's character from Terminator and you're making him the
good guy.
Good guy now.
That was a good twist. It's he's a robot that you can program to do the missions, and this time he was coming back to protect John Connor rather than to prevent John Connor from being born.
Yeah.
Which I am still confused on this scientific loop of Kyle Reese. I'll just make note of that. Because it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, just kill Kyle. It's all. Just make sure Kyle doesn't come back.
In one timeline, Kyle is not John Connor's father until he gets sent back. So had he never been sent back, he wouldn't have created John Connor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why didn't the robots just...
Kill him, man.
Yeah. before he even get to him.
It's not good to think about the timeline in the Terminator world. It's all over the place.
Yeah. But still, the action was good. Arnold, at the prime of his true action abilities, the Terminator that's also coming back, being more advanced, great touch, good emotions. Even Edward Furlong carried his weight in this film. For his career.
Yeah, Linda Hamilton coming back.
Yeah, that was another good touch. Like I said,
you needed Hamilton. If they didn't have Hamilton in this movie, I don't think it works as good as it does.
That is true, but
I did like the new Terminator they had in this one was really fun, being the liquid metal kind of deal.
Yeah, and that was made it even more unique to try to kill him, which they finally found the way, but it was not an easy task.
He felt like a threat.
Yeah, he really was. But that's my number 2.
I'm going to get a lot of flack for my number 1 and 2 pick, aren't I? Yeah, probably.
Not from
you, but...
Number 1 I'm fine with.
My number 2 is Predator 2. That not a whole lot of people like. I don't get why. I love this movie. I do. Glover's amazing. Paxton is great. I will never turn down a chance to watch. Well, I say that. I never want to watch The Predator. But Predator 2 was great. I love the City Hunter version. He's a younger, more aggressive one. He doesn't quite have the honor that we'd seen in the first Predator movie when he's dealing with people. And he still does have the honor. He still doesn't, he doesn't hunt the kids and everything like you saw with the one woman, and he realized she was pregnant and left her alive. But he doesn't. He does take cheap shots more on Glover. He's more like playing with Glover the entire time. I love the fight scenes, the back and forth, the scenes on the Predator ship where you see the huge trophy case and all of the skulls on the board. The reward he gets for downing a Predator, and you get a little bit more of a peek into the window of their way of life. Yeah, I do like Gary Busey being the FBI agent. They're trying to catch the Predator and the meat factory, and it just goes south so quickly. This movie's just a fun movie. I like it. Thumbs up. Predator 2.
My number 1, and maybe...
I'm kind of surprised here. It is fantastic, don't get me wrong.
Blade is my number 1 film. Maybe it is because of my Marvel biasness, who knows.
You're saying Marvel biasness? I never knew.
Yeah, and there's more coming. But Blade and Wesley Snipes being Blade is this...
Oh, just Wesley Snipes was great. Chris Christopherson was fantastic.
Yeah.
The guy they got playing Frost was really good.
Stephen Dorff. Great cast, all up together. Both Stephen and Wesley having their action scenes. Most of Wesley Snipes' scenes were not CGI'd. And
did you ever see the original finale in that? Oh, God. Frost becomes a blood tornado with Frost's head on it. It is
kind of good that they picked the right cut.
Level bad CGI.
Oh, then it's good that they cut the...
Yeah, they cut that out and went in a different direction. The blood tornado was bad.
But I just think the hand-to-hand fights...
the fighting scenes. I love the scene at the very beginning at the rave where he just shows up and kills everyone.
Yeah. And, the much action that Wesley did in this film, it's one of the reasons why, I describe it as why it's number 1, because we're looking at action films.
Oh, not to mention, this was the first African-American-led superhero movie we got. That wasn't Blank Man. I don't remember Blank Man. Well, which one came first? Was it Spawn or Blade?
Oh, they came out in the same...
Was it the same year?
No, Spawn came out in August of 97. This came out in
98.
So, that honor goes to Spawn, but nevertheless, while Spawn was, what it is what it was.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about it right now, but...
we'll talk about Spawn in a couple of weeks.
But this one was very, very successful. It really The fights jumped out at you.
It was dark, it was gritty, it was bloody.
Yeah. And Blade, it stole the scene.
Like Wesley Snipes in this movie just feels like a force of nature when he's walking through a corridor killing everyone in front of him.
Yeah, exactly. And you, like, even when somebody tried to challenge him, you're like, he's just going to kick your ass.
Well, it did help that he is like that, but Deacon's not backing down. Like, Deacon's not afraid of Blade.
Yeah, Deacon
and
was
that made Deacon feel more credible.
Deacon was a badass in a different way, where he was more behind the scenes and pulling the strings type of badass.
Cerebral thinker.
Yeah, cerebral assassin there. Where Blade, he's up front. He's going to kick your ass. That's my number one of the 90s.
My number one of the 90s. Probably no more... There's never been a more influential movie in my life than this movie.
What?
I say that straight face.
Oh, explain this one.
Twister.
Like, I appreciate... I think it's a good film, but you gotta explain
When I watched Twister for the first time, I knew what my life was going to be from that point on.
A spiral?
I was going to be...
Out of control spiral?
Well, that's what I became. I wanted to be a storm chaser after that day.
Okay.
I started reading books on weather patterns and how to tell.
Shit.
I'm watching this movie on repeat on a daily basis. Like, you think I watch Reacher too much? No.
Well, it's never too late to have a side job.
Yeah, I know. That's going to be my hustle from now on. I'll quit everything and just chase tornadoes. No, sure, that's what I wanted after this movie, just chase tornadoes and be like the extreme Bill Paxton. Love this fucking movie. To death, I love this fucking movie.
Back-to-back Paxton films.
Yeah.
We
knew that.
There was definitely stars in the 90s that kind of dominated.
Yeah.
Like, you can see it even on our list. You know, you had Bruce Willis, you got, Bill Paxton. I have Nicolas Cage, Will Smith. Like, there was definitely stars that came out of the 90s strong. But that is our top 10 action genre films from 1990 until 1999. Until next time.
Bye-bye!